Y91, your choice for hip-hop and R&B soul. Yes, if you hear my voice and you already know what time it is time for a new episode of Hampton Roads Voices. Oh, yes, the show that gives the community a voice, all right? And today is no different. Today, we are talking about caregiving. Tonight's episode is entitled The Caregiver's Guide, all right? So we know that there are a plethora of people, plenty of people who have taken on the responsibility of being the caregiver for aging parents, aging grandparents, aging aunts and uncles, family members all together, or chronically ill family members, you know, children or, again, parents or what have you. And we know that you need support. So as strong as you may be, I salute you. I take my hat off to you. But, you know, there's still things that I'm sure that you want to know, that you crave to learn as you're taking care of your loved ones. Okay, so today we are not only honoring you, but we're also inspiring you and also giving you tips and advice and suggestions on how to do a better job than what you already are doing. Okay, so I have special guest experts with me, like I do every show. Tonight's experts are Robin Barton. She's a care coordinator with the Senior Services of Southeastern Virginia. Also have Lori Hasty, Advanced Care Planning Coalition of Virginia, As You Wish Advanced Care Planning Program, and SSS EVA Board of Directors. And I also have Pete Schrock on the phone. He's a co-founder and chief people officer of Legacy Navigators. Okay, so I'm going to let them tell us a little bit of why they are the legit special guest experts on this show, a little bit of who they are and what they do. We'll start with you, Miss Robin Barton.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
As a care coordinator, I go into the home and conduct assessments and help families get the services that they need in the home. And one of the biggest needs is to provide some caregiver support. The biggest need really most of the time is encouragement and respite. And at Senior Services, we have another program called the Senior Companion Program, and Senior Companions provide that service to families free of charge. As we speak, I, too, am a remote caregiver, we'll say. My sister is the primary in Georgia with my mom, but shortly after this the radio interview, I'll be heading to Georgia myself to help my mom move from her independent living back into my sister's home and help her get settled in and provide some respite for my sister.
Okay, that's good. So we have somebody who is doing it.
Yes.
All right, now we'll move on to Miss Lori Hasty.
Hello, thank you very much. I am a clinical nurse specialist in geriatrics, and I've taken care of older adults and coordinated their care for a long time. But today I'm here representing the As You Wish Advanced Care Planning Coalition. And the reason I'm here is to encourage people to do advanced care plans. Sometimes when we hear that word, you know, it sounds kind of scary. Why do I need to do an advanced care plan? But it really is a proactive way to make sure that your medical wishes and decisions are met.
Okay. And then we'll move on to Mr. Pete Schrock.
Good evening. Thanks for having me. Well, there's a lot of talent that I'm listening to, so it's a little intimidating to laugh. So let me take a shot at it. So I am the co-founder and chief people officer for a company called Legacy Navigator. Essentially, my background has been in the past 15-plus years. I've been immersed in active crisis support and working in grief and trauma. I've responded to events such as 9/11, Sandy Hook, Virginia Tech, and I worked a number of years with the Gold Star families of the U.S. Navy Special Warfare. My expertise, so to speak, or my background is in social work, specifically in grief and dying. And I helped organize and founded Legacy Navigator, which is a full-service management working with estates in transition. And those states in transition due to events such as death, downsizing, or, so to speak, right-sizing, and transitions into assisted living. What we see a lot of times is that families and individuals are overwhelmed with stress during this transition, so our goal is to minimize the stress and maximize the value of the transition.
All right. Awesome. So, as you can see, Hampton Roads, we have some special guest experts here ready to help you and to guide you into being the best caregiver that you can. And we all know that Hampton Roads Voices is not complete without you. So we want to hear from you. I'll throw out the first question. But, of course, if you have any other questions or comments or concerns, you are free and welcome to call in and to share those as well. But here's the first question to you, Hampton Roads. Are you currently a caregiver? Are you caring for an aging or a chronically ill loved one? Please call in and share your experiences and share with some new caregivers about some unexpected circumstances you have experienced when you jumped in it or that you're still experiencing, okay? 823-9110, 823-9110. You have heard from our special guest experts. So when we return, we're going to hop right back into this conversation, hopefully with you. 823-9110, 823-9110. It is Hampton Roads Voices, the Caregiver's Guide. 91, your choice for hip-hop and R&B soul. Hampton Roads Voices is live right now, and we are discussing the Caregiver's Guide. That is tonight's episode, the Caregiver's Guide, and we are doing just that. We are guiding the new and the old caregiver, whether you're caring for a chronically ill loved one or a family member. We are helping you get through that. We have special guest experts here who are here to answer your questions and to give you insight and advice on how to be the best caregiver that you can. All right. We have Robin Barton here. She's a care coordinator for the Senior Services of Southeastern Virginia. We have Lori Hasty here. She is from the Advanced Care Planning Coalition of Virginia, the As You Wish Advanced Care Planning Program. And of course, she is on the board of directors for the Senior Services of Southeastern Virginia. And we also have Pete Schrock on the phone. He's the co-founder and chief people officer of Legacy Navigator. And we have you, Hampton Roads. Okay. I want to hear from you. Are you currently taking care of an aging parent or even perhaps an aging neighbor, somebody who lives right next door to you that, you're helping and taking care of, or a chronically ill loved one? Can you call in and let us know your experiences? Let us know some unexpected circumstances that you came across when you got into it. Your testimony can really help somebody else who may be listening. 823-9110, 823-9110. And before we hop in the conversation, I think we have a person on the phone, so we can get them on the line. Hi, 91, you're live on the air. Who am I speaking with? Push him up, Kim. Yeah. Hi, 91, you're live on the air. Who am I speaking with?
Denisha from Norfolk.
Hi, Denisha.
Hi.
Hi. If you can share your question, comment, or concern, that'd be great.
Yes, I wanted to know what would, some of the benefits that a caregiver would get if they would utilize one of the services.
Anybody can hop in here.
I immediately thought about the emotional and the rewarding that you get by knowing that you're the one that provided this help, especially, God forbid, when the time comes and you're no longer able to do that, or you no longer have to do that because the person has passed on. That is the biggest reward, to know that you provided care and comfort for someone, and that you got that extra quality time that maybe other families may not have gotten.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Okay, so God forbid if a relative or a person that you care for does pass away, will they have aftercare services in place for them, for relatives that grieve, for the grieving process, or?
Oh yeah, there's plenty of support groups around. As a matter of fact, that's one of the biggest suggestions, and one of the greatest things you could do is get involved in a support group early on. Because you do need a lot of emotional help. As much as you need somebody that can make a dinner or sit with someone, you need the emotional help. And there are established support groups through organizations that provide or take care of people while they have chronic illnesses. And then you can even have an informal group where you call 2 or 3 friends that know what you're going through, and that they're there for you as well. And we can provide you with a list of those maybe on the website, so that because they're plentiful.
Okay.
I wanted to add to. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, this is Pete Schrock, and my background's in grief. And when we founded our organization, Legacy Navigator, one of the things that we noticed with the caregivers that we were supporting, that are helping their loved one through a transition, was the emotional distress and really the logistical stress of not knowing how to navigate. You succumb to, what do I do with all this stuff? How do I make this transition happen? How do I deal with the legal? And what happens is you get overwhelmed with all the tactical things that your emotions kind of subside to be dealt with later, so to speak. But it influences everything. So as an organization, what we did was we came up with the idea that emotion first responders. So we named our support staff as guides, and they're clinical social workers that are matched one-on-one with the caregiver that help them through the transition, really working alongside them as a companion throughout the entire transition when they're. So I think it's, a lot of times what you hear in grief, and I've seen this over the past 20 years, is that, it's not until you experience something you say, I wish I'd have known that was around when I was dealing with it. It's the most common thing that you hear people say. So really sharing your emotion is one of the most liberating things you can do and empowering things you can do to handling. I've always said if you can name it, you can manage it. If you can't name it, there's no way to manage it.
Did you want to add something, Ms. Lori?
Yeah, I did. I wanted to add, that's another reason why advanced care planning, I think, is so important. I think if you don't plan and if you don't talk to family members or your loved ones about what their wishes would be, then it's much more stressful. It really does help if you sit down before a crisis and talk about, what would you want if you were reaching the end of life? What would you want? What are your wishes? And so rather than wait until that crisis where decisions have to be made, it really is beneficial to sit down and talk about advanced care planning and come up with an advanced care plan.
Yeah. So be ready. I think what we say, stay ready so you don't have to get ready or something like that. Sounds good to me. All right.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you, ladies.
Thank you for calling in.
No problem. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, so we want to continue to hear from you, Hampton Roads, 823-9110, 823-9110. If you are a caregiver or if you're thinking about caregiving and you just have some questions and you want to know what to do, I have the special guest experts on this show ready to help you, 823-9110. Now, guys, let's start from the beginning, okay? Sometimes we have an aging parent or an aging loved one, and, they're slowly starting to, I don't want to say lose it, but declining. I like that better. They're slowly declining. How can we tell, what are the indicators for if we should say, okay, my mom or my dad needs a caregiver now? Are there some common indicators?
Well, this is Lori. I'll just add a little bit about when you notice a decrease in function, and whether that's physical function or actually cognitive functioning, it's time to start paying attention. It's not necessarily time to jump in, but it's time to start observing and getting together what your community resources may be. Older adults, just like younger adults, need and want to hold on to their independence as long as possible. So again, that's where the planning comes in, and it's time to sit down and talk about, what are we going to do? You might not want to say you're declining, but right. You're getting older, and I'm getting older. Mm-hmm. So how are we going to handle this as we both age?
Right.
I think that's a great point. I think you want to always have meaningful dialogue before the stress is present, and we far too often I think we wait until there's something that smacks us in the face that we go, oh, now we need to deal with it. And I think having active dialogue as we both kind of age, all of us age,
right?
Having active dialogue, it's one of the things that I think will be the most beneficial to anything. But the other thing I would say is, like, we've all been gifted with one thing that we underutilize sometimes, and that's our gut. Our gut is a great indicator that, if something doesn't feel right or okay, it's probably, it's a good indicator that it's time to give that some attention. And that attention can range from anything from a conversation to action. But I think our gut is a good thing. We oftentimes, if we spend that much time with that loved one, or we know that individual, or we're caring for that individual, our gut will tell us a lot.
Okay. Yeah. So go by that gut. Yes.
And one other thing, safety.
Yeah.
Safety is probably number one. If your older adult parent or person you're caring for If you see signs that they are unsafe, that's when you actually need to step in. Safety always trumps. Leaving the stove on, not taking care of activities of daily living, not eating, losing weight, becoming confused, falling. All of those things can be driving and getting lost. All of those things can be indicators that something is wrong and you need to step in.
Yeah. And
we see driving as a big topic a lot of times of a really intense subject, because it's usually it's a last remaining freedom that people have.
And sometimes as adults, they don't want to give that up. They'll probably fight you tooth and nail. I'm fine. Just really quick, how can we, what's the word I'm looking for? How can we deal with that with parents who are not, they may be in denial, they don't want to finally admit, hey, maybe I do need some help around here. Yeah. How can we deal with that?
If I can, I think one of the things is that we always put a lot of pressure in one singular conversation. And I think we need to look at dialogue. If we approach it in time, that planting seeds are a good way of looking at dealing with some of these topics. You don't have to come to resolution in one conversation, but you can certainly start a dialogue. And that dialogue, a lot of times what we need to do is create space so they can think about the things that were asked or the things that were, said. So I think, again, as proactive as we can be in these situations, the better.
I also think that you want to assess what the reason is. A lot of times it's fear. It's okay if you're going to take this away, what's going to be next,
Right.
You're going to move me out of my house, you're going to come in, what's next. And so over the years, I've always said, if you're going to take something from an older adult, try to give them something back.
Oh, that's good.
If you're going to take a piece of their independence, try to focus on giving them a piece of their independence back. It's important.
Okay. Can you go a little bit deeper? No, that's fine. I'll leave you alone. Go ahead, Pete.
Well, one of the things I would say, too, is I think it's really important, and, this might sound cliche, is that I think one of the things we need to do is recognize feelings. We really need to help. One of the things that we need to do as caregivers or people that are supporting caregivers is think about the way that this is impacting them. Like, what effect is this having on them? And allowing them a place to name their emotions. Again, I think that's so cathartic, so meaningful for them to feel heard. Because if someone is feeling fear or they're feeling like something's being taken away, we can create a meaningful plan forward that doesn't feel like, every time I show up, I'm here to take something. Every time we have this conversation, it's to burden you. Because what happens too is that we start to avoid each other, or that becomes more of a conflict conversation than a caregiver dialogue. And a lot of times when you talk about taking something away, it's the illusion of control more so than the actual loss of control.
Yeah. Let the one that's being cared for, let them know that they matter. Especially if it's a team of family members and everybody is coming up with ideas and discussing over the cared for, and then the cared for is looking like, well, what about me? I don't even want to go here. I don't even want to do this. So allowing them to be heard, like Pete said, I think that's wonderfully said. And I want to hear from you, Hampton Rose. How are you navigating through caring for your aging mother, your aging father, your grandparents? We want to hear from you. What are some unexpected circumstances that you came across that you kind of want to let other people know who may be new to this? 823-9110, 823-9110. We're going to take a quick break, but when we return, we're going to continue the conversation about the Caregiver's Guide right here on Hampton Rose Voices. It's Hot 91. Hot 91, your choice for hip-hop and R&B soul. Tonight's episode of Hampton Rose Voices is on right now, and we are talking about the Caregiver's Guide. We are guiding the caregiver who may be new to it, who may be old to it, but how they can maneuver through caregiving the best way that they can. I have special guest experts on. Robin Barton, she's a care coordinator with the Senior Services of Southeastern Virginia. I have Pete Schrock on, co-founder and chief chief police, chief people, not quite, chief people officer with Legacy Navigator. And I also have Lori Hasty on. She's the from the Advanced Care Planning Coalition of Virginia. And she also sits on the board of directors for the Senior Services of Southeastern Virginia. Hello, all.
Hello.
Yes, we're having great conversation off of the air, so we're going to take it on the air. This time, with this go around, we're going to be talking about the emotional toll that caregiving has, not only on the caregiver, but also perhaps the cared for. So I want to hear from you, Hampton Roads, 823-9110. Let's get these phone lines ringing. I want to hear from those who have experienced caregiving. Go ahead and share your experience, share your tips to people that may be listening. You really can help someone who may be listening and don't want to call in themselves. And I'll throw this question out there. If you are a caregiver, what is some advice that you can give to someone else who is preparing to be one himself or herself? All right, 823-9110, 823-9110. So, what are some common emotions that a caregiver can come across as they're starting their journey, in the middle of their journey, ending their journey? What are some common emotions, some normal emotions for that caregiver?
Frustration.
Frustration. Embarrassment. Okay.
Embarrassment, yeah.
Overwhelmed.
Anger.
Guilt.
Grief, perhaps. Maybe one.
Yeah. Anticipatory grief, because not necessarily that the person has passed, but you're losing the person a little bit each day or each month as you see them, and so it's you're anticipating losing the person as well.
Yeah.
And you're also the process of these moments. There are moments as you see the deterioration of the physical deterioration and the psychological deterioration of someone that you love, that you've honored and that you've looked up to. And there's moments where you see them and they're in that state where they're quote unquote less than they used to be in your eyes. And it can be hard for us to look at someone that we used to look up to or we used to admire and realizing that we have to shift our role. And that's not always a conscious thing that we've become aware of. It's just something over a period of time that starts to happen. And I think that's a really hard thing to look at and, to realize.
Yeah, which is why I'm going to get back on advanced care planning again, which is why I think that advanced directives are so important, because if you can talk about these things prior to, then you really do empower the older person to make their own decisions. And so when you are faced with a decision to make, say, an end-of-life type decision to make, you're not making it for yourself. You have actually talked to the person. You know what their values are. You know what their wishes are. And that gives you a little bit of calm and assurance that you're not making all of these decisions. You are actually deciding as the person would have you decide. So I know sometimes it's difficult to talk about some of the issues that are outlined in advanced directives, but that's the reason why we have As You Wish. And, you can come and actually sit down and talk about it. And it's always easier to talk about these things prior to a crisis or an emergency.
Gotcha. Now, there is a B portion of dealing with those emotions, but we do have a phone call, and we don't want to leave them waiting. So we'll go ahead and answer the phones. Hi, T1, you're live on the air. Who am I speaking with?
Hi, my name is Jasmine.
Hi, Jasmine. Thank you for calling. What's your question, comment, or concern?
My comment is, working in the industry is very hard. Don't do it if you don't see yourself doing it. But have patience. They're elderly. A lot of them have achieved a lot of stuff in life, and they don't want nobody telling them what to do. And I have one just like that. And when you get frustrated, always walk away and come back with a smile on your face and reapproach the situation.
Okay.
That's a good point. Don't take it personal.
Right.
And creating space to kind of regroup is a great tip.
All right. Thank you for your comments,
Thank
Jasmine.
You.
And we want to keep those going, okay? Give us a call, 823-9110, 823-9110. What is some advice that you have for some new caregivers? Moving forward, so with those emotions of grief and anger, embarrassment, and so forth and so on, which are normal to experience during this process, what is your advice? I want to hear from each and every one of you guys if you have something to say. What's your advice on how to best maneuver through those emotions as you are caregiving?
I think the number one thing you can do with anything is acknowledge the emotions. So try to be aware of what you're feeling and actually name that. Mm-hmm. Again, you cannot begin to manage what you can't name. Mm-hmm. So I think it's really important to do that, and then to create a plan in which can help you manage the stress that you're experiencing.
I was thinking let go. Sometimes you have to let go of the control or let go and find other family members to help you out a little bit, so you're in charge of all of the paperwork and all of the medical and all of the high-level stuff. And, it's okay to let your sister, a neighbor, a church friend sit for a few minutes while you get your nails done and do something else. And same thing, I guess we said earlier, take a step back.
Mm-hmm. I also, excuse me, I think it's important, too, to think about why it's important to acknowledge these emotions, because there's also something that if you keep pushing the emotions down, mm-hmm. they will come up.
Yeah.
And caregivers really may end up what we call detaching. In other words, you're doing the task, but the love that you felt in the beginning mm-hmm. has gone. Mm-hmm. And that's can be the foundation for abuse and other things that we really don't want to happen and we don't intend to happen. But frustration and irritability and all mm-hmm. of those feelings ignored will lead to behaviors that we don't want to see.
Okay. All right. So how important is it to, decompartmentalize during this journey, if you will, because it is a journey? How important is that to, make sure that we are separating emotions or separating roles, if you will? How important is that?
I think it's hard to kind of separate the emotion. Mm-hmm. What I would say is every caregiver should have a caregiver. Mm-hmm. Anybody that's in that support role should have a sounding board, somebody that's objective that they can talk to and process things with. I think it's really hard to detach from emotions when it is such an emotional transition.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I also think that one of the things is to recognize that we are no longer, if it's your parent, we're no longer the child. And so sometimes when issues and experiences come up, we automatically jump back into the child mm-hmm. mode and want to listen to the parent. And so compartmentalizing it in that regard, I will sometimes give people the advice of try to separate yourself and say, I'm not the child, I'm the manager. Put yourself in the manager role. I'm managing the care of this person, mm-hmm. which means I have to manage the finances, I have to manage the physical, I have to manage the emotional. And that way you do detach some, and it helps you to be able to kind of go on.
Yeah. All righty. I want to hear from you, Hampton Roads, 823-9110, 823-9110. I want to hear about your experiences with being a caregiver. Also, what is something, if you have been a caregiver for a chronically ill loved one or an aging loved one, what is something that you wish you would have known beforehand? What is something that you wish you would have known before that can help somebody else who's listening? 823-9110, 823-9110. We'll ask one more question and then we're going to take a quick break. So before, we really get into a making a sound decision, you may gather the tribe, if you will, and then you have to, kind of try to figure out which one is best for your mom or your dad or, your chronically ill loved one. So when you are faced with the decision to become a caregiver or to maybe administer your loved one into a facility, what are some factors that you or your family members should make or should consider and weigh when you are making a decision as to getting your loved one some help? Anybody?
think everybody can do something. And I think you just play on the strengths of what people can do. My sister is wonderful at finances. I'm not. So she handles my dad's finances. I'm more the caregiver. And so, I'm handling the caregiving and the medical piece. So you just figure out what people are good at, what has the history been, and then let people play on their strengths.
And then, of course, like you guys been saying throughout the show, try to ask the cared for what they think, putting options in front of them. Go ahead, Pete.
I was going to say that, we have a huge aging demographic that is upon us as a country, the largest in decades. And we have a lot of aging in place. We have a lot of people that are transitioning into assisted living. We have a lot of people that are financially, in financial distress, and a lot of family systems aren't always the healthy family system. So there's a lot of people out there that do not have that support network that we thought of traditionally. And certainly right now we have what we see in our company a lot is that the oldest female in the family is the one that typically takes this role. And we have women are in the workplace is an increasing demographic, and it should be, but the number of caregivers and available caregivers is dwindling as this aging demographic increases. So I think what I would encourage families and individuals to do is to look for resources that are beyond the traditional network. Look for organizations, entities, foundations, companies that support, because there's a lot of companies that are coming up that have the skill sets to support the families in these transitions. Because a lot of times you'll see families work to take care of this themselves, and not everyone has a legal background, not everyone has a financial background, and a lot of times families' legacies, families' estates, or family situations can be taken advantage of in these situations. So I always encourage families to think beyond just their natural network and to look and have as many dialogues with experts and individuals that are out there that can add value.
Because they're out there. We're going to get them.
They are out there.
Yeah.
And it's growing because this is we're not fully conscious of the demographic that the age demographic that's coming. I think a lot of people that are in the profession see it. They can point at it and say, wow, we've got a challenge coming our way. But there's still a lot of people that are unaware of that. So there's companies that are growing and that resources that are growing to help. Don't always feel like you got to do it yourself. That's a really overwhelming feeling. And a lot of times you see families, somebody will say, hey, I'm going to help in this way, and they show up once or twice, and then they kind of fizzle out when it gets hard. This is not true of every family, but certainly this is how one person usually succumbs to all the pressure. So there are resources.
And we'll get into those resources a little bit later, so please continue listening. You wanted to add something, Ms. Lori?
I just wanted to add a couple of comments. One is you can make a list of what you need help with, because you know how somebody will say, well, do you need any help? Well, what can I do to help you? And we might say, oh, no, I'm fine. It's okay. No. Make a list of what you need, and when somebody asks you what you need help with, pull your list out and tell them. It's no harm in accepting help.
So you don't burn yourself out, and we'll get into that as well. We do have a few phone calls, so let's go ahead and get to that. First one, Hot 91, you're live on the air. Who am I speaking with?
Oh, how you doing? Is this Karen? It's Karen.
Hello.
How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thank you for calling. What's your question, comment, or concern?
Well, actually, I just had a few comments to piggyback off of. Really, I actually was basically my grandmother's caregiver for a few years, and just to piggyback off the whole a caregiver needs a caregiver or someone that they can, vent to or get some things out. I just want to say that is very true and very important, because it can cause detachments, like what was said. And currently, I'm not my grandmother's caregiver anymore. I moved to Cincinnati, but just going through the overwhelming things and like the feelings of grief, it made me kind of resent other family members who should have been, who I felt should have been, stepping in the whole time. because I had just moved there. My plan wasn't to move there. I just wanted to visit because I had a lot of family there that I didn't know. So I wanted to take the time out to get to know them. And then when I saw that basically that my grandmother couldn't live alone and, the conditions, I wanted to stay. So I stayed for about maybe 2 years, but it kind of put this resentment and this detachment for me and my family, because I just didn't feel like, I felt like I was doing so much and I was being burnt out and I was in school and everything. And then when it comes as far as when you guys said patience, that's definitely true because, my grandma, she's stuck in her ways, sometimes a lot of people are, but she has her habits. And it would, as far as food, groceries, all that stuff, that was all on me. But when she would get whatever money she would get, she would buy nothing but like Pepsi and cigarettes. So now I have to go into my money and, and I just had to figure out I tried to figure out a way of, basically dealing with it. But in the end, it just caused a detachment. So I just wanted to piggyback off of that, really.
I think that was very valuable. I think our listeners needed to hear that. Yeah. Right. Thank you.
Bro, I appreciate y'all. I needed to hear this conversation today.
Yeah. All righty. Well, you have a great weekend.
All right, you too.
Getting to our second call. Hi, 91. You're live on the air. Who am I speaking with? Hello?
Yes, this is JD.
Hey, if you can do me a favor and turn your radio down, please, sir.
Okay, not a problem.
Thank you. Go ahead and share your question, comment, or concern.
Well, my concern is with the way things are done when parents know that they're terminal, okay? And if you're ever given the opportunity, please go ahead, try to reach out to family members as well and kind of delegate to them what needs to be done to help you. And by chance, if you're given power of attorney, please take the initiative and put everything into your name and allow for the provisions of what your parent or whoever your caregiver, whoever you're caring for, requested. And so that when they go home, it'll be no real discussion, no worryation, or anything consequences for not getting everything into your name. Because currently I'm still battling, trying to get things in my name and out of my name. Because when I had power of attorney, I didn't know better, and then no one told me, even though I was asking questions, I was asking the wrong questions. So I wasn't aware of what to do, who was really helping me, and because I went through filling it through on my own, now I'm paying lawyers to try to get me out of situations that could have been all prevented if I knew what I was doing in the beginning with the power of attorney.
Yeah, and if I could just comment on that, it's important to realize that there are two different types of power of attorney. One is a financial power of attorney, and the other one is a power of attorney or durable power of attorney for health care. And so it is important to know which one you're talking about and what is outlined for both.
Correct.
Can you be both?
You can be both.
Yes, okay. But you can be both.
But the important thing is that the individual says who should be the power of attorney, and that's right. And that's sometimes what that's sometimes what causes some conflict, because everybody might not agree with what the person is saying or who they want to be their power of attorney.
But the real thing is, once you get the power of attorney and you know its potential for the person to be unable to think for themselves, or they're going in a hospital environment, to go ahead and get everything switched over into your name prior to deceased.
Right.
Because once they become deceased, you lose that power of attorney, which it gives them the right to challenge everything and all the wishes, and it'll become a financial battle to get it back. And that's what I'm going through, because I didn't know until it was too late.
And I'm so glad you bring that up, because know what it means to be a power of attorney. Okay, power of attorney doesn't necessarily mean you can make all decisions before and after death.
Okay.
So you have to know what decisions are outlined in your power of attorney.
Correct.
All right.
And then you have to go ahead and, once you do that research, you have to go ahead and step out there and, let's say, your parents' house, the car, or anything that they really own, that the city will have any rights to or anything. You have to go ahead and get that into your name, because otherwise, if you have siblings or relatives that may be added in, they will be added in as part owner, and then you will either have to buy them out, which is a financial thing, or you have to wait for it to fall back into your lap from everyone deceased and on the title.
Valuable information. I think Ms. Robin wanted to add something.
Well, I was curious because I'm not sure I'm understanding what you're saying. You said power of attorney and get it in your name, but because a person is power of attorney, it doesn't take away a sibling's inheritance.
Right, it's a difference.
Right. So they may still be entitled to whatever, right, part of the estate. You were the power of attorney to help make decisions and maybe more responsible than somebody else. But you don't automatically inherit everything because you were the power of attorney, and I did not sit with her, and I did not come when I said I was going to come. She's still entitled to, I would imagine, whatever her inheritance would be based on the will or lack of a will.
Right.
Right. We did have a will, but the backup copy that didn't get burned up was not signed, but the original did get burned up. So the thing was, everything that was supposedly went to me, all went to everybody, and no one is doing what they're supposed to do. So,
oh my, all right,
I'm in a bad position because I have to do everything, and yet there's no repercussions to them for not doing anything.
Yeah.
And if anything's happened, if I want to sell the house, I have to divide the money with all of them according to the law. But if we had the second copy of the will signed and kept where it was supposed to be, then everything would have been free and clear and according to the wishes of the person with the will. So you have to make sure you get all of that taken care of
and
prior to
I think
them passing away.
Pete wanted to add something. Go ahead, Pete.
I was just going to say this is something we see all the time with our client base. And oftentimes people feel as though because the will is in place, I mean, even a will, a copy of a will, you can interact with these challenges. You have probate, you have 100 hurdles that can pop up. Families disagreed about what belongs to who and when they were supposed to get what. Yeah, I always try to advise, and this goes to planning too, but, a family trust is a great way to preserve all of that information. It also keeps things from going into probate. There's so many legal, the whole estate process was designed for any individual walkthrough, but it's about as confusing as any, roadmap could be. So it's riddled with understanding the relationships, what definitions certain words mean, what powers are actually present for individuals, who has the authority to do what. It is a very confusing process. That's why we have paralegals on our staff to help guide our families through this process, because it can become very, very expensive and overwhelming.
Well, sir, your advice and your testimony is very valuable. I think you helped a lot of people who may be going through it right now. So thank you for calling and sharing. I really appreciate that.
Not a problem.
All righty. Have a great weekend. So we're going to take a quick break, and I want to continue to have those calls coming in. Yes, we want more of that, more of you sharing and, being vulnerable with us. This is a safe place for you, Hampton Roads Voices is. And your story is actually helping others. It's helping me. I'm thinking that my 25-year-old self, my parents are still young, but you never know. You never know what can happen. Yeah, so as soon as I get in that house, I'm going to say, hey, look, y'all need to be very detailed and thorough in that will. Let's get this family trust going because, I have siblings and, yeah.
Don't forget as you wish.
Yes, and don't forget as you wish, Mom and Dad. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we're going to continue this conversation. We're going to talk about avoiding burnouts. Being a caregiver, you can get frustrated, you can be tired, and that can really lead to devastating results. So we don't want you to get to a place where you never thought that you would be before. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how to balance, being a full-grown adult. You have a life of your own and also caregiving. So that and so much more is going to be on Hampton Roads Voices, the Caregivers Guide. 823-9110, 823-9110. Make sure you keep it locked right here. It's Hot 91.
Norfolk State University Broadcasting, WNSB, Norfolk, Chesapeake, 91.1 FM, and HD1, Virginia's only full-time urban public radio station, Hot 91.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are not those of Norfolk State University or WNSB FM. Thank you for listening. Hot 91, your choice for hip hop and R&B. So we're having so much fun that we forgot that we got to get back on the radio. We have a show to do. Yes, and we have plenty of show left for you. We are in the middle of Hampton Roads Voices, right smack in the middle, if you will. And this episode is entitled The Caregiver's Guide, a Caregiver's Guide. We are guiding you, caregiver, through your journey of caring for your chronically ill or aging loved one. We know it's not easy. And even though you put on your invisible cape and you put on your strong face, we already know that you need support and you need advice still, even though you've been doing this for forever or you just started. We are here to help you, okay? We have special guest experts here. Robin Barton, she's a care coordinator with Senior Services of Southeastern Virginia. I have Lori Hasty here. She's with the Advanced Care Planning Coalition of Virginia. And she also sits on the board of directors with the Senior Services of Southeastern Virginia. And I also have Pete Schrock here. He's the co-founder and chief people officer of Legacy Navigator. And they have been doing exceptional, if I say so myself. And so have you, Hampton Roads. And I want for you to continue that effort of letting us know about your experiences as a caregiver, or if you are on a team of caregivers, if you will, you and your siblings, you and your cousins are caring for a loved one. Give us a call and let us know what are some things that you wish that you knew before you started caregiving and you want to pass on to the next new caregiver. 823-9110, 823-9110 is the number, and I want to hear from you. Because, this show is called Hampton Roads Voices, okay? So we're going to hop right back into this conversation. And if you want to know how to get these resources or get in contact with the special guest experts that are on the show, I just posted it on our Facebook page. So, yeah, go check that out. And also I'll be posting their organization's Twitter handles and Facebook handles and all social media things related, okay? So, WNSB Hot 91.1 FM, that's what we are on Facebook, all right? Okay, so let's get into the expectations. We've been talking about a whole lot of things, but what can new caregivers expect? I want short-term expectations and long-term expectations. What should they be looking forward to? You wanna hop in here, Miss Robin? What can they look forward to?
I think that once you get started providing care, you have to realize that it is a long-term process because the person receiving the help becomes dependent on you because you've proven that you're reliable, that maybe you have the resources that they need, but you're there. And unfortunately, there's a saying that says if you want something done, to ask a busy person. Mm-hmm. So if I'm the one that's always there.
That's right.
I hate how true that is.
Right. So once you wind up, and you usually, I think, fall into that position, like the young man said a few minutes ago, he came for a visit and realized that his grandmother needed help. and he just couldn't walk away from that. And so he wound up probably doing it one day at a time. I'll stay one day, I'll stay a week, and it turned into 2 years. And so it is a long-term commitment, whether you realize it or not. And you can do that if you have your own support, as we said earlier, and maybe you kind of plan for that in advance.
Expect to be committed. Go ahead, Pete.
The other thing too is like don't go into a new look. We're talking about something that we will mass majority of people in their life will experience once, maybe twice in their life, is being a caregiver, and then they will have someone caring for them one day. But don't expect right away to be competent in this.
Yeah.
Don't expect right away to know all the language, what to expect, how to think. There's going to be so many things that are going to be brand new. Brand new emotions, brand new terminology, brand new law, just so much. So what I always tell people to do is think about, one fact at a time, one action at a time. There's a lot of pressure in this, but try to become as competent as possible. The gain of information promotes confidence. You'll move more freely, you'll move more precisely, more efficiently as you gain that information. So to kind of put your student hat on and look at it that way.
I also think that as we age, older adults, most older adults over the age of 75 have at least one chronic illness. And those illnesses will cause hospitalizations, be the cause of hospitalizations, physicians' visits, all of those things. And so, again, you can't go wrong if you start talking about advanced care planning. And I want to say there is a difference between advanced care planning for finance and for medical. When we're talking about medical, we're actually talking about durable power of attorney for health care. We're talking about things through a living will that you would want, or interventions that you would want. I'm sorry.
Excuse me. We trying to figure out who's yelling on the radio.
If you were terminal, organ and tissue donation, all of those things we tend to put in the back of our minds. But when there's a crisis, when there's a hospitalization, those things rise to the top and can really be the source of a lot of family discontent. So.
Well, clearly they are yelling to be on the air. So
that was. I apologize. That was the team coming back from helping a family. So I sincerely apologize.
No worries, Pete. I'm glad we got down to the bottom of it, because I was looking at my other producer here. I'm like, girl, what is that? But
that is me. I apologize.
No worries. A blooper there that makes the show run. All right, let's get to our phone lines. Hi, 921, you're live on the air. Who am I speaking with?
Hi, my name is Miss Deborah, and I'm going to probably deal with another aspect of being a caregiver, finding competent professional facilities or home health providers to come into the home that can also add to the stress. I'm a child protective services investigator and have been one for nearly 16 years. And we've conducted interviews with CNAs and personal care assistants, and I'm almost shocked that the question I pose to the interviewee, have they ever been the focus of a CPS investigation? My question is, why isn't it necessary, or why is it not mandated that if someone that can abuse children and have a founded disposition be able to care for the elderly? I think it's a relevant question. I pose that question to the interviewees who come into our home to take care of my parents, and I am almost amazed at the responses. Some have founded dispositions, and others were the focus of a CPS investigation. So this is my question to the panel. What do you suggest one can do to make it mandatory that question be asked? And because I think it's very relevant. I think a mother who will leave her children home alone with no supervision and want to come into my home and provide supervision and care for my elderly parents, I think it's something that needs to be considered. And to add to that, I also think the stress and I think having these facilities that are not up to par, that are not professional, some of them not very competent. I'm not being negative. I'm talking from my experience. It can add to a caregiver's stress. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. And I don't call myself a caregiver. This is a labor of love. I love what I do. I love taking care of my mother. I love taking care of my stepfather. But I cannot and will not tolerate, have no tolerance for someone coming into my home that has a founded disposition. Now, you have to understand, I'm 16 years into this. And so I really, what do you suggest can be done? I'm sure there's some lobbying and some things that
Well, first and foremost, Miss Deborah, thank you for coming and shaking the table. I love me a nice table shaker. Let's ruffle some feathers. Yes, Miss Deborah, yes. And that question is posed to you all.
I immediately thought about the licensing folks, maybe, because obviously whatever is on the required for them to be approved to continue to work in that field, this has not come up in the background check, and you're saying a founded case versus an unfounded case. So it has to probably go up to the licensing board, like you said, lobbying, the whole legislative type. And it is time, because I'm quite sure, like you say, if I'm not responsible, don't care for my own children and think that that's okay, I will leave your mother unattended.
Or neglect her or abuse her.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's appalling. I'm almost shocked. I have a passion for this that I didn't realize I had until I started taking care of my parents. And especially my stepfather, who was an amputee with dementia. He is nonverbal. He cannot communicate. And the risk of him being victimized is higher than someone who can. So I think something needs to be done. I wish, a lot of your conversations dealt with competent, professional providers who come into the home with integrity. I'm finding that Medicaid, the minimal requirement is that you be able to speak and read and write English, and that you are a high school graduate. I think something needs to be done to raise the bar a little higher. And I know that the minimum that they pay them is $9 an hour. So
there you go. I think one of the issues that we have
the elderly abuse and neglect. I cannot even imagine what's not reported. Things missing out of the home, with people being neglected and staying in depends for 8 hours a day. It breaks my heart. So I'm wondering, I don't know, I could be a trailblazer in this. I don't know if this is my assignment from God. But I think something needs to be done where CPS, the question regarding were you ever the focus of a CPS investigation, and if you were the focus, what was the outcome? And I think that should be something that's mandated by the Commonwealth of Virginia, that those who are applying for these jobs, that they be able to answer that question.
Well, go ahead and Pete, hop in there. I think you were going to say something.
I don't know if it's anything really, profound, other than I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, really just to acknowledge and appreciate what you're saying. I think, when you have a vulnerable population, and that's what we're talking about, people that are dependent upon other people's compassion, empathy, and humanity. When those traits are absent, and we allow, one of the big issues here that I see often is that we need to make this a priority.
Yes.
And a priority means that we it's a little bit like the education system. And I don't mean to belittle in that way or to draw a connection there too much, but look at how do we compensate individuals to be, how do we prioritize this as a community or as a country? And again, I go to this whole fact that we have this huge demographic that's about to be upon us that we're not ready for.
We are not ready.
Right.
We are not ready for it. And in the institutions, there's some great ones out there. But I think that's why you see a lot of people trying to age in place. A lot of people trying to say, there's a lot of conflict around this. And I think one of the things I would praise you for, and again, this isn't so much advice, I apologize, but is to speak up.
Yeah.
Every time we speak up, it becomes more important. Every voice every head that nods their head to what you're saying, every voice that says I agree, makes it more of a priority.
I have a question, please, Ms. Deborah.
Yeah.
You are saying that you're speaking specifically about the home health aide versus the CNA, right? Because I thought,
we have PCAs and CNAs in our home, and I didn't know. I had to educate myself. I did not know that there was. I thought everybody coming in was a CNA, but then when I saw their badges, I saw PCA, and I said, "What does that mean?" And then they explained that to me. Right, personal care assistant. So then I asked, what was the qualification? What did you have to go through to be a PCA? What type of training have you had? What type of literature did you have to read? And I believe it or not, guys, I've had people come in there and did not know how to put down the walker. I've had people come in and tell me that they rent the portable bucket in the sink and the bathtub. It was just horrific, and I just could not believe remedial. And I'm not downing it. Of course, I'm not mentioning any companies, but it was the most remedial things that I thought should have been something that was understood. I shouldn't have to tell you not to rent the portable bucket in my sink and in my tub. And then when I redirect you to do that, you say to me, well, you're going to have to put a sign up. It was, I'm telling you, I really think something needs to be done about these home. I mean, people can go in and be approved by Medicaid so easily, and you don't know what's out there. You don't know what these people are doing.
Wow.
Is licensing following up? Is licensing going in and doing unannounced visits? Is licensing going in interviewing these caregivers or the elders?
You know, you raised so many issues, and I'm so glad to hear you being an advocate, because on so many levels, there's so much that needs to be done. One of the things is that for adult protective services, they're not even enough people to investigate, even when they get the information. There is a difference between personal care assistants and certified nursing assistants, and I think one of the things is ask the question and call the licensing department. Ask the certifying agency, you know, has this person ever had any? So not taking it on face value, but everybody doesn't know that. I think the other thing is that because we are such an aging population and people need to work, that everybody's rushing to take care, and they think that taking care of an older person is going to be easy. It is not. It's not like babysitting or just, you know, sitting there and not doing anything. And people have to be taught that, I think. There's so much, I believe, that can be done and that needs to be done in that area. So thanks for bringing that up. Thanks for being that advocate.
Miss Deborah, and this is what Hampton Roads is about, what Hampton Roads Voices is all about. So thank you for calling in and using this platform to get that out. But like Pete said, is, you know, what they have given you is not much of advice as maybe that you would need, but get your voice heard, just like you called in, right? You know, your legislation, and you know, and I'm sure.
I plan to.
Yes.
Now, the individuals that's on your panel, you said you've posted their information on Facebook?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I'm just trying to advocate. I think there's so many people out here who wish somebody would speak up about some of the concerns I've had to deal with, and so I'm going to do it. And I work with adult protective services. I'm in the city of Chesapeake, so I get it, and I bombarded them with questions, believe me, because I needed to understand the protocol, and I have every right to say to an interviewee, if you have a founded CPS case, I don't want you in my home. I have every right to say that.
Yeah.
And even some of these schools, I mean, some of the nursing assistant schools, I mean, what are they teaching? Are they teaching how to communicate? Are they teaching some of these basic skills? You know, all of those things are important.
Not only the initial training, but it's the agency that hires them. They are so desperate, and there's so much money out there, like you said, through Medicaid. They will hire me today because I am clean on paper. Never give me any in-home training. Send me to your home, not knowing that I don't have these basic skills.
Inadequate.
Oh my goodness!
Crazy.
I'm going to close on this. I had three people sitting on my sofa at one time. They applied. One young lady applied that morning, got a call to come in
Oh, my goodness.
at 12 noon, and 3 o'clock she was on my sofa.
That's right.
Oh,
Okay? And so it scared the mess out of me. And I was like, what is this? This is how you guys operate?
Wow.
So the caregivers have to ask questions. You cannot. You've got to trust but verify.
Right.
You cannot take people and everybody at their word. And in a matter of a couple of hours, I'm interviewing her. And this young lady was so nervous about the interview. The next day, she confided in me because it was a very serious interview. I'm not playing.
Right.
You're at home. So she confided in me, and she explained the process and how she ended up on my sofa that same day that she applied. And so I just, it's so much that needs to be done. And I wish there was something that we could do. I'm just one voice, and if anybody's
You're doing
out
it.
here,
You're doing it. And what's troubling about this is, what about the people who don't have an advocate like you? You know, you think about that.
It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart.
That's why-
But I thank you for this platform. I do appreciate this so much, and I'll go to your Facebook page and
Please do, Miss Deborah.
We salute you, Miss Deborah.
Yes.
thank you so much, guys.
We salute you.
Have a great weekend. And Pete, you were going to say something to Miss Deborah. She's probably still listening on the radio.
I was just going to say I worked in CPS and foster care, and I know where she's. I know the passion in which she speaks from, and the injustice sometimes of what you see. And unfortunately, a lot of times what it takes to right that injustice is educating yourself and becoming informed, and then speaking loudly about it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times that's necessary. That anger, that frustration, that's what builds foundations. That's what rights wrongs, and she's leveraging it right. So I admire her passion.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. So we're going to take a quick break because Miss Deborah, yes, that's the passion that I love. If you are on the phone and you are waiting to be on the air, please continue to hold. Your call really does matter to us. It definitely matters to me because there will be no Hampton Roads Voices without your voice. So please continue to hold. And I want to get some more calls coming in. 823-9110. What are you doing as a caregiver? What can you give to the next generation of caregivers? You know, somebody who is new to this and really don't know what to expect. What is some of your advice and some of your experiences that can help the next person? Okay, 823-9110, 823-9110. And when we return, we're going to get into this burnout conversation. I know I've been promising that, and it's coming up. All right, so make sure you keep it locked right here. It's Hampton Roads Voices, the Caregiver's Guide on Hot 91. Hi, 91. You're live on the air. You are live listening to Hampton Roads Voices. Yes, having a great time. Even though this is a very serious topic, we are enjoying getting the information to you, getting that advice to you, to be the best caregiver that you can be. All right. So tonight's episode is entitled Caregiver's Guide. I have Robin Barton here. She's from the Senior Services of Southeastern Virginia. I have Lori Hasty here. She's from Advanced Care Planning Coalition of Virginia. And I have Pete Schrock here. He is from Legacy Navigator, and they are all experts in this field on how to be a great caregiver, the before, the during, the after, and things of that nature. We do have a couple of calls, and I want to thank you for being on hold. Continue to do that. And I also want to continue to push you to give us a call, 823-9110, 823-9110, to share your experiences as a caregiver. We're going to go ahead and jump to our first call here. Hi, 91, you're live on the air. Who am I speaking with?
Takia.
Hi, Takia.
Hi, how are you guys?
I'm doing great. Where's your question, comment, or concern?
Well, actually, I have a comment. I just got off of work. I am a PCA, a personal care aide.
All right.
I'm about to be 25 years old. I've been doing it since I was 18, fresh out of high school, after my grandmother passed away.
Okay.
So she actually made me want to do this.
Yeah.
And it is a very difficult job. It's not no easy task. You don't just go in somebody's house and sit there and look at them in their face and watch TV like you would at home. When you get there and you have your care plan, you have to follow that care plan. You have to do what that aide, did before you. What your patient expects from you is a lot, but it's not really. I mean, if you took that job, it's a huge responsibility that you are putting onto yourself and also the company that you work for, because they're dependent on you, and their family is solely depending on you to show up on time, to feed their mother or their dad or their daughter and everything like that. So it's not nothing easy.
So let me ask you, did you feel ill prepared when you began caring?
Actually, they really did not.
Okay.
And I want to put that out there too, because I'm not sure for CNAs, but I know the PCA course, it's a 40-hour course, so it doesn't take no more than a week to do. But some of these places, when you go give them $150 or $200 that you just worked hard for, thinking you're about to learn something new, and they teach you absolutely nothing. They read from a few pages out of the book, and then they try to give you the answers to the test. They don't show you how to transfer a patient who's bedridden to a wheelchair, or they don't show you the proper way to clean a commode or do light laundry and housekeeping. I mean, some of this stuff I know it's, common sense, but what about the people who's never done it before?
Right.
And they're picking up something new. They've never done healthcare. See, I've been doing healthcare all my life. I'm a farm tech, a dental assistant. I have my DSP training, and I'm a PCA, and I'm about to go to school for healthcare administration. Medical is my life, so I feel that before someone steps a foot into it, you need to make sure that is something that you want to do, that you are going to be dedicated to. It's not like taking care of your child at home. I mean, that's what they say it's like, and I've got 2 kids. It's nothing like that. It's really more than that. You got to be ready to help someone that is in dire need. And I have to agree with the other young lady. If they're over a certain age, you better believe that they have a chronic illness that is not going to be on that care plan, because all these companies, they're so money hungry that they don't even tell you what's wrong with the patient before you get there.
Wow.
They just send you on your way and expect you to pick it up like that.
What do you think would make it better? Because you know what, you sound like you have a lot of initiative. Yes. You're a go-getter.
Yes. Passionate.
You're passionate about it. Probably a lot of what you've learned, you've kind of gone and gotten it yourself. What would you suggest?
Oh, absolutely. I suggest stop being afraid. Everyone, they want to talk about a whistleblower, and then you're scared to lose your job. Forget that job. If you're scared to lose that job, it's because you don't really want to work. You took that job because you thought it was easy, and all you do is sit on your butt. I get up every day, every single morning at 6 o'clock, a.m., drop my kids off to the babysitter, and I carry my butt to work. I get off at 5 p.m. I get there, and I treat it like I'm taking care of my own family member, because you're spending holidays with these people. You know what I'm saying? I had one patient, her family want nothing to do with her. Wow. And off the clock, I stay with her from Christmas all the way until after New Year's.
Oh, wow.
That is dedication. Yeah. That is the type of aids that these companies need to be looking for. And I've been through quite a few companies, and they'll pad hours. They'll try and get you busted. They'll do anything to make it look like you were at fault. And really, it's not the aides' fault, it's the company, because y'all are sending us out there without teaching us anything, and all you want to do is cash a check. I want to cash a check, too. Believe me, I'm a single mom with kids to support. I love money. Of course I do. Everybody in the world needs it. But at the same time, these people are depending on someone to take care of them. Somebody who is going to care. You got to have to want to learn. You should want that education 24/7. Every day I go to work and I learn something new. I just got a new patient. I know nothing about Spanish, but hola, como estás? Me llamo Takia. I mean, my patient done taught me things that I've never knew before.
Okay, Takia.
She done taught me things I've never knew before, and I appreciate her for that. Today, brand new patient today, I went there and I bought her something just for teaching me Spanish. I want her to know that I appreciate her. I appreciate the elderly. I even appreciate the young children with disabilities that I take care of. I have a heart. Yes. I have a heart, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I'm sick. I've got kidney failure. I've been sick for a year now.
Bless you.
Off dialysis, and I'm still out here trying to help support somebody else who is in worse need than me. And I do agree, Medicaid, they're so quick to just give it to anybody, but there are some people that don't get it who really deserve it, who really need that help. And those are the ones that I like to go for. All those private duty cases that can't afford to pay nobody, that's what I like to do. I want to lend my hand out, and I think all these aides out here, y'all need to take a lesson about that too, just as well. I mean, I may be young, but my mind and my soul is old. I know what I'm talking about. I've been doing this for a few years. I've been caught on to some things.
That's awesome. So Takia, let me tell you personally, you have blessed me. Okay, your testimony has really touched me, and I'm a firm believer in you definitely reap what you sow. So with you going above and beyond, past your pay rate, to invest in these people and to pour into these people, that's not going to go overlooked. You're going to be blessed beyond measure, and it's going to be shaken. Don't give me listen. Listen, pouring into your laps, but seriously, Takia. So I believe you and your children will be very blessed for what you are doing. You know, spending time with that lady or man, whoever you were spending time with over the holidays, that really touched that person. For her not to have family at all, and then you spend time with her, things like that don't get overlooked in the eyes of God. So I salute you.
Absolutely.
And
I brought my kids with me and everything. They enjoyed their time, and she enjoyed them. I mean, she wanted her grandkids. They couldn't be there. Let me help you.
Go ahead, girl.
I live right up the street. I don't got no problem with it.
Good for you. Good for you. So yes, and I also pray for healing over your body. So
Thank you.
I will keep you in my prayers, and I salute you, and I thank you, and I think we have other callers that have called after you to salute you as well. So turn on your radio right when we get off the phone with you, okay?
Okay, no problem.
All right, thank you, Takia.
You guys are welcome. Y'all have a blessed day.
You too. Let's go into our second call. Hi, 91, you're live on the air. Who am I speaking with?
I didn't want to go on the air. I just want to tell that young lady, this is Miss Deborah.
Hey, Miss Deborah. Yes.
Y'all need to hook up.
If we could get a million of her,
yes,
the business will be 100 times better.
Yes.
That's right.
100 times better. I wish I had her name and number. She's amazing. She could train.
I'll tell you what.
She can go in as a consultant, and she can go in and train these young ladies. Our vision and what we're experiencing is supposed to help others. So I just want to say to her, don't minimize the assignment. The assignment is bigger than you. So if you, with the passion that you have and the experience that you have, you can go in and be a consultant and train. It may be a one-time thing, but use your passion and your professionalism and your integrity and your love and your empathy to share and impart in others. That's all I want to say.
Well, Miss Deborah, I'm going to send you back to our other producer, Kim, and she's going to get your information. And then, Takia, if you're calling, of course, you'll be off the air, Miss Deborah, and then we'll have Takia call back in, and then we'll give your information to Takia. Is that okay with you?
That's fine.
Okay,
Thank
perfect.
you.
So Kim will take you now.
Yeah, this is Pete. We do not do direct care, but I would love to have her come speak to my organization.
Okay. Yes. So Takia, please give us a call back so you can get Ms. Deborah's information, and then we're going to go ahead and forward you to Pete as well. This is what Hampton Roads Voices is all about. I love this. And we weren't able to get into the burnout. We are at 53. Well, actually, let's hurry up and get into that before we talk about the agencies and the organizations that you guys represent. So, just really quick, guys. Let's see. So caregiver burnout, we already know it's very, very real, and it can actually lead to serious consequences. Some people who are burned out and overwhelmed can resort to drastic measures like perhaps suicide or abusing the victim, probably to the point of murder. Or what have you. So to avoid all of that, how can one, first of all, identify that he or she may be at their boiling point? And also, how can they take the edge off? What can they do to, avoid that burnout?
You may find yourself withdrawing from friends and family or activities that you normally like to do, and realize that you are experiencing some depression. because of the burnout?
Okay.
Yeah. One of the things I think people should become really aware of, and anybody that's a caregiver, is to understand and study as a layperson compassion fatigue. The terminology is very simple to understand. That every compassion is our desire to want to, it's the empathetic consciousness. We want to move towards acting of helping others. And, compassion fatigue is real, to where we start to minimize our impact. We start to experience really bad negative self-thought, self-talk. And when you're experiencing that negative self-talk or that negative talk of the client or that negativity, that's an indicator that you are fatigued, that your stress level is beyond control. I think that's one thing that we can definitely, urge people to understand is what is compassion fatigue, and, how do I recognize that I'm in a high zone for stress when you need to be in a low zone for stress.
And to know yourself. I mean, how does stress show up? I mean, does your stomach hurt? Do you start sweating? Know your stress indicators, and then have a plan. And don't wait until you're stressed out to make the plan. Have a plan as to what you're going to do, whether that be reading, Bible, going to church, taking a bath, but have a list of things that you can do to help with your stress. Don't be afraid to ask for help, because one of the things that I've seen is that it's not uncommon for caregivers to actually die before the person that they're taking care of. And so caregivers many times just work themselves literally to death. And so it's so important for people to know how to take care of themselves and to be okay with taking care of themselves.
I think too, a simple thing you can think about is if you are dreading going to work. If you are dreading going to work, you're there. And the other thing I always tell people is that we all have love tanks, right? It's just like a vehicle. Our love tanks need to be refilled. So find things that allow you to love yourself and make you feel that love, so you can give it back. If your love tank's empty, you can't provide love.
If your love tank is empty, you can't provide love. That's good. That's good. Alrighty, so what kind of resources are available out there for caregivers, and perhaps maybe their families as well? But what kind of resources, either from the agencies and organizations that you guys represent, or others that may be out there that you partner with, what is out there?
Well, at Senior Services, we have several great programs. We provide short-term, in-home services for people who need help. And while you're receiving those temporary services, we'll try to help you get something long-term. One of the good things about that is that we are the go-between, between the family and the aid and the agency that's coming in. So anytime there's any concerns, you can contact your care coordinator, and she's on the phone directly with them and getting those issues addressed. We also have a great program that I'm coordinating now called the Senior Companion Program. And this is a free program to families, and it is ongoing and indefinite as long as everybody's happy. And they can come in and sit with your family member, do some light housekeeping, be a real companion for the family.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That's awesome.
One last thing, if you don't mind, I'd like to add, we also, during our Art of Healthy Aging, want to salute, which is why I threw that in a little earlier.
Yes.
We want to salute you caregivers, and we are accepting nominations for 3 categories of caregivers as we speak.
So attention all caregivers, especially to Kia and those like her.
Yes. We're accepting applications or nominations for what we call Circle of Caregivers. These are family members who are caring for a loved one on a full-time or part-time basis. We're accepting nominations for the professional caregiver, who is being paid to take care of someone, and also in the military family community, someone who's providing care to a veteran.
Gotcha. So how can they get in contact with or nominate somebody that they know, or nominate themselves?
The information is going to be posted on your website and on our website, Senior Services of Southeastern Virginia, SSSEVA.org, and all of the information is there, and the deadline is September 15th. Please nominate those that you feel are worthy. SSSEVA.org. If you are a great caregiver or you know someone, you can
this can be your opportunity to nominate them or yourself for being a great caregiver. And that information is on our Facebook page, WNSB Hot 91.1. Miss Lori, what kind of resources do you have available?
Well, I just want to say, to empower yourself, please go to As You Wish and get help in filling out your advanced care plan. We're talking about stress here, and one of the things that will help is if you actually fill out your advanced care plan, talk about your values, let the person talk about their values. And remember, it's not like TV. I think a lot of people think like the CPR and the interventions are like TV, and we're going to do CPR and the person is going to get up and it's going to be like before. It is not like that. Mm-hmm. So these things take serious consideration. So get your advanced care plan done.
Is there a website that we can go to?
The website, yes, is www.asyouwishvirginia.org. And the telephone number?
Please.
757-325-9400.
Perfect. And Pete with
Legacy Navigator.
Yes, yeah. I'm so sorry. Forgive me, Pete. Forgive me.
No, there's a lot of great support, so no worries. No, what I would say is quickly is, please go to our website, www.legacynavigator.com, or @LegacyNavigator on Facebook. Our goal as an organization is to put out as much content, free content about aging, about life transitions such as death, downsizing or right-sizing, and families in distress, financial distress. We help with the organizing the things in the home to make that move into assisted living, or to empty and free the house to be able to get it sold, to helping people with understand the legal and paperwork, the tons of paperwork that's hard to organize and understand. And we also help with the expenses. Our organization helps finance a lot of things. And so we're here to help people in the community. We're a resource. And the thing I would say is that you're never going to find one resource. It's always a community effort. Always a community effort. And Legacy Navigator is happy to be part of the community and the resources there.
Awesome. So I have the information. I have the links to the Facebook pages, which has all the information that you need about Legacy Navigator, about Advanced Care Planning Coalition of Virginia, about Senior Services of Southeastern Virginia. So please go check that out on our Facebook page, WNSB Hot 91.1 FM, or you could just type in Hot 91 and we will pop right up. I want to thank Miss Robin Barton, Miss Lori Hasty, and Mr. Pete Schrock. You guys were phenomenal in your expertise, and thank you for agreeing to be on the show. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, thank you. And I also want to thank you, Hampton Roads, for calling in and sharing your voices or even listening, okay? This show is nothing without you, Hampton Roads. So don't forget that Hampton Roads Voices airs every Friday at 5 p.m. and also on Sunday at noon. So this show, you will hear it again on Sunday at noon. And you will also be able to get this show anytime you want on our YouTube channel, okay? So any show that we have aired previously, we are loading them in, but our most recent shows are definitely up there right now. Go ahead to our YouTube channel, look up Hampton Roads Voices, and there are those shows with a plethora of information and resources that you need, and advice and everything, from eating right to the Colin Kaepernick controversy. Like I said, Hampton Roads Voices on YouTube, and you can get us there at the click of a finger. Alrighty, make sure you keep it locked right here. It is Hampton Roads Voices signing off on Hot 91.1